Moving onward to the next externality. Now we're going to take a look at the negative externality of production diagram. Where does the diagram start? You already know. It starts in the exact same place that we start all externality diagrams, which is with the base diagram for market failure, which has, as you know, but let's repeat ourselves because it's always helpful, right? The following components: price, dollar, or currency, P1, 0, Q1, the quantity, the unit, the year, marginal social benefit, marginal social cost, and the title. There we have it. That's the base diagram. So you just sit down, you see this, don't panic. You already know where the story starts. And now you know, this is why it's so good. You know right now that one line is going to shift. You don't know which one it is yet because you haven't actually read the answer, or rather read the question. You're just going to wait and see, okay? You do know, however, that point B is the socially optimal point. That's where you want to be. So this is where you want to get back to, which is the quantity of 1. Okay, so there's going to be an event. And what's the event? The event is that there's a paint company. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and Sherwin-Williams is from Cleveland, Ohio. But they do have a factory here in Santiago, Chile. And guess what? They pollute the atmosphere here because they produce paint, and producing paint causes pollution. Okay. So while they're doing that, they're also taking the paint that they produce and they're sending it off to the hardware store to be sold to people. So if you went to buy that paint, do you really think that the healthcare costs of the people that live around the Sherwin-Williams paint factory here in Santiago, do you think their healthcare cost is included in the price that you pay for that paint? No way. So the social cost is higher than what you paid for the paint. Dude. So from the perspective of Sherwin-Williams, their production cost, this is the negative externality of production. So the production causes an external negative effect that's not represented in the price of the paint. And so therefore, the price of the paint is lower. I'm going to redraw that. The price of the paint is lower than what it should be. So therefore, the marginal private cost is lower. Ooh, check it. The marginal private cost curve moved outward. Why? Because the price of the paint does not take into account the full cost to society of producing that paint. Okay? Wow. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. Okay? It means that this quantity right here, Q2, is where the market is operating, but we want to get it back to point B. Okay? Now, the government's going to get involved to move us back towards Q1, where we want to be, level of output. But the last little piece we got to find on this diagram is actually the welfare loss, the damage caused to society by the misallocation of resources, okay? And where that is, and this is where a lot of students really mess up, that actual point of welfare loss is right there. A, B, C. It is this triangle right here. How do we know that? Because we know that we want to, look at that arrow, get back towards the original equilibrium price before they fired up the paint factory. The Q1, P1, point B was the socially optimal level of output, but instead we're operating here. So, think of it this way. The price of the paint that you paid for in the hardware store is P2, And that only covers the cost of the production of the paint. It does not take into account the cost of the damage done to the respiratory systems of people. So where should this, and you don't really draw this, but this paint should actually be sold for P3, right? Don't draw that on the diagram. That's not part of the diagram. But that's what the total price, that's what the price should be if it took into account the respiratory illnesses that are being caused by the production of the paint. Okay? But this welfare loss right here is what the government's going to get involved in and actually try to solve. Okay? So there you have it, the negative externality production diagram. Now I'm going to click one more slide over to the next one so that you can see the fancy dancy updated nicely drawn version of the same diagram, because the next video is going to start off with this diagram. Okay, it's the same exact diagram, right? We have a socially optimal point of B, socially optimal level of output of B, and Q1 and Q2 are backwards. I messed that up. Okay, so we're just going to change this. This is going to be, this is not going to be Q1, right? Here we go. That's not going to be, that's going to be Q1. So here, Q1, and that's going to be Q2. Okay? So this is what we're going to look at in the next video. So I wanted to just give you a little preview. Okay? So there is the negative externality production diagram, how to draw it. Get that in your head. And now we're going to look at the solutions to this negative externality, because we are rolling along on to the next video.